Hello, my name is Kaylee Kaufman. I teach American Sign Language for high school students, levels 1, 2, and 3, and I'm also a cheer coach and advisor. I believe that I hold certain dispositions for an educator. One would be reflection. For every break or winter vacation or spring break or summer break, I always reflect on what I had just done in the last several months, several weeks to see what I can improve on in the future. Currently, I'm getting laptops for my classroom, so I'm transitioning almost everything onto Google Classroom so that I can have my students access videos of sign language and write down their interpretations using a computer. So that way they can work on their technology skills as well as I also work on my technology skills along with them. Honesty. I feel like I'm honest with my students. If I make a mistake in a test or if I make a mistake in spelling, they'll call me out on it, but I also am honest with them that I make mistakes. If a test or a lesson doesn't go the way that I want it to go, I will be honest with them. This did not work the way that I had hoped it to work. We're going to try it in a different way. So they know my expectations and how I feel most of the time. Compassion, I definitely have. This is something I think creates a strong bond between my students and myself. I will listen to students and I will ask them how their day was or how their volleyball game went and if they made it to playoffs, and I genuinely care about my students and I want them to know that when they come into the classroom. With being a sign language class, we do a lot of presentations in front of each other, and I think it's very important to know that, for my students to know that in my classroom is a safe environment. And I don't want any form of bullying, and I don't want any form of teasing or laughing at somebody if they make a mistake. So I let that be known early so that nobody feels hurt. And if something does happen, I'm there for them and I will talk with students one-on-one. I'll even notify their parents if something happens and make sure that that student feels safe, and that every day when they come into the class, they know it's going to be an environment that they can be in and thrive in and learn in. Things I need to work on would be high expectations for one and curiosity for another. High expectations, I have my expectations for my students and they know that I have these expectations and how to reach them, but I think that I think I can have more rigor to my classroom to make these expectations higher and hold my students to a level that is more appropriate for how I want to grade them. Currently, right now, students are receiving an A for doing B work, and I'm allowing that, and I need to change my expectations and have more rigor, put it in rubrics and more homework and different things for grammar, and that is something that I am working on with my reflections. And curiosity, my students have a lot of questions about signs and they get off topic, and so I end up kind of honing in their curiosity onto what lesson we're on that moment, and I feel like I don't allow them to be curious about other things with sign language, like British Sign Language, if it's the same and how is it different. And when it's being brought up, I will let them know that we'll get to that at another time, and sometimes I don't get back to it because that's not what the lessons guide me to. So I feel like I shut down some curiosity when it could be an opportunity for learning. I believe that an educator looks and behaves like a professional, and someone who presents himself well with good hygiene and dresses nicely to every day, and they have a smile on their face, even if it's a fake it till you make it situation. I think it's important to present yourself in a way that is appropriate and professional in the classroom. I think that behavior of a professional person is someone that doesn't let students know too much about their personal life, but just enough to keep them interested. They don't let them in on family issues or drama outside of classroom. They don't let other students know how they feel about staff or other students. They're always encouraging for learning and they want more for their students than what they had. Staying positive about tough situations. We have to do things regularly, like talk about fire drills and lockdowns and what happens if there's an active shooter on campus. And sometimes it's a hard conversation to have, but I think that professionalism and that honesty and that loyalty and compassion to your students and your job is what is going to get through those tough times. Um, and I think a professional educator is someone that helps when it is needed, whether the student asks for help or not. Many times a student won't ask for help, and I think it's the educator's job to be professional and go out of their way to check in with their students and help, whether it be to get them resources for something or to help them in their classroom or outside of their classroom. I think it's important to be there for your students on top of just what your job calls for. I think a professional is someone that goes over and beyond so that they can be more for their students than what they had.